Hi y'all, Giant Murdercat back with another talk video this week. I am so sorry. I am really trying to work on getting other things for you guys, but like I had said before, we're going to be doing talk videos until we move. So this week we're going to go over the age-old debate, what's better, full suits or partials? But before we get into that, what are they? So we're going to define each category. So there's the two main groups. There's partial and there's full suit, and there's different types in between. So for the beginning on partial, there's a light partial. Light partial includes normally just a head, paws, and probably just a tail. That's normally it. It's pretty light. For a normal partial, you got the head, the hands. You're more likely to have sleeves than in the light partial category. You'll have feet and a tail. And then there is this like in-between category before you get to full suiting that's like 3/4 suiting. It's not very common because people generally just opt to wear shirts, but it's kind of like overalls. It's more often seen in like plush suits, so it'll be like you'll have your head, you'll have your paws, and probably sleeves, and then you have like this overall setup where you'll have your bottom section and feet and tails. So it's like 3/4 suiting. It's just kind of like in its own little category. And then you have full suiting, of course. There are different types of full suiting. There's plantigrade. Plantigrade is like normal human feet. Sometimes they'll kind of do like a little ankle up on the toe, but it's normally pretty much just straight down feet. Then you have your digigrade, such as myself, as you've seen. You've got like the little hip and then the move into the ankle. And then there's, I cannot pronunciate it, but it's the unguligrade. And that's like for your fawn, deer, those kinds of things where it's like they have like front leg and then like middle leg and then like ankle and then like toe and then like another ankle. They're like really weird, but you know exactly what it looks like. They're like the fawn feet. They're really popular for like people who do like just legs, and like they'll have the antlers and the cute little Instagram aesthetic. So those are the different types. Some other common in those groups are plush suits. Like I said, they're normally just like super fluffy and they look like giant stuffed animals. So it's like your paws are literally just your arm, and like you're just like padded, like you just have like teddy bear arms, and you're normally like really big. And I cannot imagine being in one of those suits. That must be so hot. There's so much padding. And another one that's kind of died out, it used to be kind of popular, quad suiting, where you're obviously on all fours. I don't really see those as often anymore, probably because crawling around on all fours in a convention area is probably not very fun. But they are pretty cool, the ones that they do. I did see like the unicorn, like the really popular, like there was like vines for whatever, like the unicorn that like pranced around during the dance competition. That's a quad suit. So those are your different types of suits. Now that we've covered the suits, why did I want a suit? It's kind of like taking a plunge into the fandom. Like I feel like after you get a suit, there's like no going back. Like you're a furry for life or you sell your suit. And I definitely never see myself selling the suit. If I would sell this suit, then like call someone because something's wrong. But I've just always super resonated with this character ever since its creation. I know it did go through a lot of changes, but all of those changes have brought it to this, and just getting it to this point to where it is in real life, it just felt like it needed to be alive. If that, like, I'm sure that makes sense to anyone else that has fursuits. Like, I have really bad dysphoria with being non-binary trans, and having something to cling to for an identity, something to cling to for like what I want to look like, because obviously I could not government assign myself or at birth design how I wanted to look. So like giving my own look and then having that brought to life and being able to be that and act like it and move around like it, it's like coping. It's like how I went over with the escapism. I feel so much like I feel like a normal being when I'm like this, that sounds crazy because you're like, oh my god, you're a giant freaking cat. That's not normal, but I feel comfortable. Like, I want to go to the store right now. Normally, I'm terrified and don't want to leave the house. Right now, I'm literally like, let's go to the park. Let's go do something, you know? So that's why I wanted a suit. I was really, really sure that it would help with the dysphoria, with the escapism and stuff like that. And it was just like, I've been in this fandom for so long. I've wanted a fursuit literally ever since I found out they existed, and it's never changed. I've always wanted one. I've always tried to get one. And when it finally started happening, it was literally like the best thing in my life. And I know that's kind of sounds like exaggerating, like other than meeting my cameraman, but that aside, getting a fursuit has been one of the most important things in my life, and just being able to have such a luxury item, because they are a luxury item. Like, I feel very privileged to be able to be standing here in this suit, and that's why like I want to do videos for you guys. Like, I feel like I want to share it with you guys. Like, I want you guys, like, I know it's not the same, but if there's stuff you want to see me do, I'll do it for you guys, you know, like, well, of course, as long as it's like appropriate, but I want to like share it with you. I want to like share the fact that I have a fursuit with you guys. So what does fursuiting feel like, other than being really hot and suffocating, which you kind of get over it? Like, as you've noticed, I've taken a lot less cuts in my videos. I'm a lot more comfortable talking. At first, it is really weird to get used to, and especially like now that like you guys, I haven't been able to full suit since the video of me putting it on. So like, this is the second time that I've been able to full suit, and it just, every time I put it on, it just feels better and better, and I cannot wait to like go to conventions or just do whatever in full suit. For me, as I had said, it feels wonderful. It feels like right. Like, I don't want to compare it to people who are going through like transitioning and stuff like that, but I feel like since I am kind of in the trans umbrella, it feels like I've transitioned. As gay and weird as that sounds, but like, I feel like I've hit my final, this is my final form. I've hit my final form. This is my ultimate form. So that's what it feels like to me. For other people, maybe it's just a character, but for me, it feels like this is me. This is what I want to be. This is what I want to be recognized as. I want to go by my persona's name. I want to be acknowledged as this. And I know that sounds like the clip of the boy who's like on all levels but physical, I am a wolf, and then like he like yips. Like, that's me. And I don't even care if that sounds crazy, because I love it. I love this. I love doing this for you guys. I love recording the videos. I love doing silly stuff, and I can't wait to do even more. Personally, for me, fursuiting, like, so far, I haven't really gotten into a headspace. Like, I know, like, people get characters down to like act as like at conventions and stuff like that. I feel like since I haven't been able to put on the whole suit as much as often, I haven't really been able to like bond with the suit to get a character going with it. Like, I know the character because I created it, but I don't know the character like on a personal bond level, because I don't know if people like refer to it like that, but that's the way I handle it. So like, to an extent, like, for example, I was at the store the other day, like, buying shirts for my boyfriend, and I saw, like, a sweater, and I had this, like, little thought in my brain that was, like, I want that. And, like, it wasn't me. Like, it was this character. Like, this character was, like, I want that. And, like, for me, that's so cool that it's, like, I have this level of, like, connection with this character where it wanted a sweatshirt, and I bought a sweatshirt, and I'm excited to show you guys it. And it's just stuff like that. Like, that's what it is to me. Like, I know there's otherkin. I guess I would be otherkin, like catkin. Like, I know a lot of people find that stuff kind of either like offensive or weird, but I personally like You can ask anyone close to me. I do have like a lot of cat mannerisms, and like I don't do it to be like, oh, I'm so cute, I'm a cat. Like I do them because I literally feel like I have to do them. Like there'll be times where I'm just like, I'll just like meow or something, and it's like, it's just me. Like, I'm sorry, it's just me. That's how I am. And if you don't accept it, then sorry, bye, because I'm not changing who I am. So this, of course, like I said, is for me personally. For other people, I feel like they take advantage of being in either their partial or their full suit as consent to like I heard about this like one guy at a convention recently who was like going around being like really annoying, like pestering people's boundaries, like as much as, like, you know, the saying goes, fursuiting is not consent. Like, you can't just come up and hug me. And in that same page, you can't just go up and hug people. Like, people have boundaries. It goes both ways. So your fursuit is not consent in the sense that, like, it's not consent for you to just come up and touch me however you want. But it's also not consent in the way that you can just act however you want because, oh, I'm so cute, look at me, I'm gonna break stuff. Like, no, you can't do that. So that's just a little important thing that I wanted to include. So now, the big debate. Which is better? Full suits or partials? The answer? Neither. They are both lovely. I love both of them just as much. And you should too. I really hate the stigma of full suits being better than partials and all the flack that partials get. That's like honestly why I partial more often than not, because I want to show, like, even though I do have a full suit, like, I'm not doing it like to be privileged, like, oh, I have a full suit. I'm just partialing because I want to. Like, I'm doing it because partialing is just as important as full suiting, and whatever you feel most comfortable doing, do it. Like, you paid for that suit. You get to do what you want to do. If other people have issues with it, then just, they have issues with it, I guess. But both are valid. I have so far found myself having more fun partialing, but I think that's just because I've been able to do that more so than full suiting. But like, honestly, the more I'm like standing here, like I'm getting like anxious almost. Like I want to like just like I want to like break stuff. I want to push stuff over, and like I'm like feeling the character. But anyway, we have more important things to do than talk about being Godzilla. But when I bought my full suit, I anticipated being in it all the time, never partialing. That's why I didn't get like actual sleeves. But I've found so much fun doing both. Like, they're both just as fun. And I really think that people should be more accepting to partials because they're just having fun too. And it's like, another thing is like, you don't know people's lives. Like, the two big reasons that I always find that I don't judge people for partials are, the first one, the biggest one, is health restrictions. Not everyone can stand to be standing here like this in something that's extremely hot. You don't know their life, basically, is the easiest way to say it. So if they're partialing, either they just want a partial, or there's a reason for it, so leave them alone, let them have fun. They paid for it. Why does it matter to you? The second one is, I kind of think full suiting is overrated because I feel like it's almost like a popularity contest. Like, if you have a full suit, you're more popular than if you have a partial. And I don't understand why, because they're both, you're still an animal person. Like, maybe you're a little less anthro or a little more anthro, or like wherever you want to throw it, but you're still doing the same thing. You're still costuming. They're the same thing. Like, I don't understand why there's such a big stigma. Like, we can't just come together and appreciate how people want to perform their character. Alright, so I thought it would be fair to go through the pros and cons of full suiting versus partialing. To be super fair, I'm going to do 5 pros and 5 cons for each. So we're gonna jump into that. So, for full suiting, I feel like it's way more immersive. I feel like you have more on, so the more you have on, the more you feel into the character. That, again, once again, like, that's personal. Maybe if you're partialing, you feel more immersed in that way, but I feel like it's more immersive to be in a character. It's more like realistic. Like, I have like the digigrade legs, like I look like a monster, whereas if I just had the head on and the shirt like I've been doing in my other videos, I look more like casual, I guess you would say. But it's normally more way exaggerated in the character. Again, like the escapism that I always bring up that seems to be pretty frequent with a lot of furries, and it's super fun. It's super fun to just run around and just do dumb stuff like this, and it's like no one knows who you are. So I feel like that also adds another level of like, the more hidden you are, the more likely you are to just go up and make friends, the more like you are to just go up and hug somebody or like knock a chair over or just be in character. So that's like the number one big pro that I find with a full suit. The second one, it's kind of unfair, but like I said, they're like more widely accepted, like they're more popular. You're kind of just like, as of having a full suit, despite like my personal preference on seeing there being no difference, you're probably going to get more attention being in a full suit than you are in a partial, unless your partial's like really, really cool. The third one, usually they're more intricate, and that's only because there's more to show. Like, that's not to say that like partials can't be intricate, like some of them can be like super, super detailed, but I feel like there's more detail that goes into like doing the padding, like my belly scales, for example, or like my fur tufts for my shoulders. Like, I don't have that when I'm partialing. I don't have the ribbed tummy. I'm wearing a t-shirt. I don't have the legs that make me look more like animalistic, you know, stuff like that. So it feels like there's more options to be more detail oriented towards your character than when you're partialing. So then the fourth one on that, I feel like there's more respect, I guess you would say, because you're wearing more. Like, there's more on. Like right now, I'm sweating way more than I do when I partial, and it's obvious because I'm wearing way more. I feel like, just as an example, when you're watching a dance competition and someone in a partial does like really, really good, and then you see someone in a full suit do something that's like maybe not as good, like they get way more cheers. Because it's like, oh wow, they did that in a full suit with padding, and wow. And it's like, I feel like the partial person, even though if they did something really cool, it's like, oh well, their legs were exposed and they weren't wearing as much. Like, I feel like there's kind of that, where there's like a more of a respect level, like you're working harder, whereas I don't really feel like you are. Like, I feel like you're sweating more, that's about it. And then the fifth one is that this is maybe just a philosophy that I follow, but I feel like if you find yourself going for a partial, but you ever feel like you're going to want a full suit ever, do the full suit. Go the whole way. Because it's so much easier to just partial and have the full suit as an option, like I've been doing. Like, I set out to always be full suiting, but it's nice to have the option to partial as well. And like, you can think of it as like a wedding dress. Like, that's your goal. Like, if like, for instance, if like weight's one of your issues or something like that, you have a set goal, like, okay, I want to maintain this body so I'm always able to fit into my suit. Or like, if you break your diet and then your suit's harder to fit into, you're like, oh man, I have to get back onto my diet. So like, there's motivation for that. Like, I find that a pro, kind of like in that group. Another thing is, that's like something that a lot of people don't think of. Materials change, furs get discontinued, or their dye changes. They're like, for instance, like maybe like this orange fur, maybe they won't make it as long anymore. So like, if I got arm sleeves, it's like not as long, it's gonna look weird. Like, things change. And if you have rare furs on your suit and you just got a partial, and then like you finally like, and that's another thing, like, you have to like recommission either another artist or your same artist, so you have to get another slot and wait that whole time again, where you could just wait like a little bit extra, like a couple months extra, and just get the whole thing and not have to worry about the process, because like their prices will go up, so then you're paying more. Like, you're saving money getting it all at one go if you're not planning on like drastically changing way, like, I'm not saying that to be mean or rude or anything like that. Like, if you do anticipate like having a lot of weight issues, like I know medications or just life, that's when I feel like it would be a good idea to like wait on the full suit. But if you find yourself being like in the same sort of situation for a while, like you are in your 20s, you're done growing, like just get the full suit. Just spend a little bit more rather than having to go back and trying to have to refine like all the fur colors, the same materials, making sure everything's the same. Because like, what if you wait like 2 years? Maybe your maker's style is different. Maybe now you have to get a refurb on your head, so that's more money you have to spend. So it's like, just get the full suit unless you only ever want to just partial. And then of course the cons. These ones are pretty obvious. It's way hotter. Usually you won't be able to perform as long. Like just doing this video, I think that's probably for my second time is probably going to be like it as far as me being able to wear those full things. The second one, of course, like I said, with that last point on that was kind of in the pro, it's more expensive. It's way easier to just get a partial. And it's like a lot of people are doing pre-mades for partials. So like that's another option. Those are normally way cheaper than like getting a pre-made of a full suit. That's like, if you ever have to sell your suit, it's going to be so much harder to sell the full suit because it's a lot more like size to your body. Like other people have obviously can like fit into your suit. Like my boyfriend's bigger than me and he can fit into it, but like just barely. So you're trying to sell basically like a clothing size rather than just the head and the paws, which normally anyone could fit into that kind of stuff. The maintenance is way harder. There's more washing, there's more brushing, there's just like more to maintain. So that would be the third one. The fourth one would be it's harder to travel with and store. I am dreading trying to think of how I'm gonna get this suit to conventions. I'm gonna just have to like drive or something or like mail it there. Like I have no idea how I'm going to stuff this in something to go to a convention. And then the last one, I feel like you can express the same amount of character as a partial. The more fur you wear doesn't make you more valid as a furry. So I feel like that's also another con. Like I feel like I'm just as expressionate as this character as a partial as I could be in a full suit. So partials, the pros to partials, way cooler. Way more breathable. Like your arms are open, your body's open. Normally you'll have just feet. A lot of partials tend to do just like small amount of sleeve. So normally you can go for longer periods of time. That's a really big pro. That's why a lot of people kind of prefer partialing. Second pro would be, I feel like you can show more personality through like the fashion that you wear. I know like a lot of the shirts and stuff like that I wear, like the hoodies and stuff, they haven't really been visible with the angle that I've been in, but in the future I do want to kind of show off like its fashion sense. But like as you can see, like I feel like you can show more personality through like your shoes, the belts, bracelets, bandanas, hats. I feel like there's more room for personality in that sense. Whereas when you're wearing a full suit, it's a little bit harder. Like you have to have the bigger bandanas, you have to have the bigger shirts, and sometimes the shirts look kind of weird on a fursuit. Third, three fingers. Easier for repairs. You only have like a couple parts, so like your paws, your tail, your feet, your head. That's all. That's it. So for as far as repairs goes, it's going to be a lot cheaper to get repairs for those, or just get a straight out replacement. Whereas with the full suit, it's a little bit harder for repairs if like seams rip and stuff like that. You don't really have to worry about seams in a partial. Your fourth one, it's a little bit more, I want to say a little bit more accepted in public settings. So like if you were to go to the park with some friends, or like if you're having a fur meet at like a local area and there's like normies and like families, I feel like they respect the partials, where it's a little less in the uncanny valley Whereas like with the whole animal mascot suit, if you're like not at like the zoo or something, or like at the conventions, I feel like they're kind of wary, and that's where like the stigma comes in of like, ew, furries. Whereas like when you're like this, it feels more like human, and I feel like they accept it a little bit more. But on that note, even if it does seem like they're more accepting, please always be like with someone in public when you're fursuiting, regardless of partial or full suiting, because there are people that are just like super against it. I haven't heard many stories, but like you don't know what people will do. So if some people feel very strongly of things, like especially like if you're dressed like this and you're like all prided out and you got like all your gay colors on and stuff like that, like maybe just words will happen and that's easy to come back from. But some people, depending on your area, like I live in Vegas, so I feel like everyone would not really care. But like if you live in like Indiana, I feel like they would be a little bit more conservative. My fifth pro would be that it almost completely gets rid of the need for a handler. Like I feel like I could walk around, have pretty good perception of my surroundings because I feel my arms, I feel my legs, and the only thing that's really restricted are like my hands and my feet, and then like wherever my tails are and my head. Whereas like everything else, I feel like I have really good grounding. Whereas when you're completely covered in your giant animal costume, that's when your perception goes like out the window, and that's when you do need a handler for your peripherals and stuff like that. But like you have less on, it's easier to move around, and I feel like a handler is almost not necessary when you're partialing. Whereas a full suiting, I feel like unless you're extremely practiced at it, you pretty much do. Cons for partials. The biggest one would be your fursuit envy. I feel like partials are generally in this kind of group where it's like full suit or bust, you know? Like I feel like a lot of people, like for example, like just someone with like a normal, just complete white wolf character, but they have a full suit, I feel like people flock to them for pictures in comparison to like me if I'm partialing. Like I feel like there's this, if you have a full suit, you're more popular, you're like better, you're more widely accepted than partialing. I feel like partialing always kind of have like this like little like thing they have to like push through to like prove themselves, and it's like this really weird, I don't know, I really hate it. That's why I try to partial as much as possible, even with having a full suit, just to kind of show like you don't have to have a full suit to have fun. Like partialing is just as fun. I've had more fun partialing than full suiting so far. I haven't really had very many times to full suit, but so far partialing's fun. It's a lot of fun. I feel like I have more like character control. The second one, in that same kind of note, I feel like while you do have like the fashion sense and stuff like that where you can compensate, I feel like it's nowhere near as immersive. Like when I'm like this, I kind of feel in character, but when I'm in the entire suit, that's when I feel like the entire thing come on. So it's like it's hard to feel as immersed when you're only partially covered rather than fully covered. The third thing is a lot of people for partialing, they get very like, they're so much more targeted for breaking the magic. Like I know a lot of people when they partial, they'll wear like just their paws and they'll have their skin showing, and people like hate them. They're like, no, don't do that, you're breaking the magic. Whereas like someone who's full suiting, they take their head off because they're like overheating and no one says anything. Like I feel like partialing is a lot more strictly like you have to be all the way covered, you have to be like if you're wearing shorts, you have to have like leggings underneath. Just in general, it's just like I feel like there's rules as to how to partial correctly, whereas like when it comes to full suiting, I don't feel like there's very many rules. I feel like they're a lot more lax, which it makes sense because it's like there's a lot more, it's a lot heavier, it's a lot hotter, etc., etc. But like partialing is just as exhausting. Like you're doing the same amount of work, if not more, in character, I mean, yeah, maybe you have less layers, but you're still doing the same thing, so it shouldn't really matter. But like, people are really strict on like breaking the magic for partialing, so that's a really big con that I feel like a lot of people struggle with. The fourth note on the cons, you have to kind of dress around what you have. So like how I was saying before, like the light partials, the heavier partials, like the different types of partials you have. If you have arm sleeves, you can wear t-shirts. If you don't have arm sleeves, as I don't, you have to wear something to like cover up that gap, or like wear like something that's big enough to go over to your hand. You have to kind of like work with what you got. Like if you have like a belt tail instead of like just like a little tail that can clip on, you have to wear pants that have a belt. Just stuff like that, where it's like you have to be conscious of what you wear so you can partial correctly. And the last one, this one is kind of like a personal thing. I don't know if you're familiar with the shadow theory. It's basically like when you take two characters, like for instance, like let's say we have Sonic and we have Pikachu. If you had a shadow of Sonic and a shadow of Pikachu, you could tell which character was which character. With partialing, I feel like there's a lot of like the same kinds of species, and if you're the same shadow as one cat as the same shadow as another cat, like just a couple different, like the only characterizations you have are the pieces you have on. Whereas like with the full suit, there's more opportunity for more markings and more yes, that word, I cannot pronounce it. But so it's just kind of like you're kind of stuck with what you've got. And if you have, like, there's nothing wrong with having super simple designs, but you might not be recognized as easily, and that's something that's kind of like awkward. Like, oh, hi, Marshmallow, and it's like, I'm not Marshmallow, I'm Snow, you know, kind of that kind of stuff. So those are the pros and cons of partialing. All right, so back miraculously in my full suit. So I just wanted to kind of end this video on just strengthening the point that this whole which one's better, which one's more valid, like, I love both. Partial all you want, have skin showing all you want, break the magic all you want, poodle all you want, reverse poodle. Like, you're spending so much money worrying about what people are thinking about how you're enjoying it, and that's just ridiculous. Like, why did you spend thousands of dollars to get this suit to care if your arm's showing and someone throws a fit about it? Like, they're probably just jealous that they don't have a suit. So just don't even worry about it. Like, have fun. The whole idea behind this community is to have fun. So if people are bringing you down, just block them, or just tell them to go away, or just don't deal with them. Like, this community is supposed to be for fun, and if people are making it not fun, then you need to cut those people out of your life. But anyway, just to say once more, full suiting and partialing are just as equal. I love both of them, and I love all of you guys. Thank you for watching another week's video, and I will see you again next week. Goodbye!